Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Um, a small and select group. There might be other people who come in, so we will adjust accordingly. Welcome to the Grant Making Forum. This is the last meeting of the Grant Making Forum this year, and we've got a great series of speakers for you. The first one is Fiona Wilson from the OT practice, and it was requested that we have a speaker to talk about occupational therapy. Fiona is the account manager at the practice and works to involve ongoing occupational therapy and assessment services to people of all ages through housing associations, local authorities, schools and care homes and benevolent funds, because some of you are already signed up to them and you'll know them because they exhibit at the annual conference. So without further ado, I will hand over to Fiona.
So good morning, everyone. As Dominic said, actually I think I've met a few of you at the ACO conference that we were at in April. So for those of you who weren't there or who don't know about us, we've just been asked to come up and give you some more kind of information about occupational therapy and the OT practice and what we do. So my name is Fiona Wilson. I'm the account manager at the OT practice and I've been there for just over 3 years. So I run our key accounts department and we have kind of long-term and ongoing contracts with charities and benevolent funds, local authorities, care homes, schools and other organisations. So today I'm going to be talking about so what is occupational therapy for those of you who don't know. Bit of an introduction to the OT practice and who we are and also the services that we offer. So to start off, what is occupational therapy? So occupational therapy is made up of assessments and intervention or ongoing treatment to help develop, recover or to maintain somebody's independence or their activities. So an occupation is anything that people do in their everyday life. So that may be accessing the community or their garden, cooking or washing themselves. So occupational therapists are experts in occupations. So they will consider the person, the environment when they're doing an assessment. So the environment in which somebody lives or goes to work or school, and also what that person does in their day-to-day life. Now, OTs work with adults and children of all ages with a wide range of conditions and difficulties associated with mental health illness, physical or learning disabilities. So the aim of an OT really is to keep people independent for as long as possible so that people can continue doing the things that matter to them and that make them happy. So when an OT goes to do an assessment for somebody, they'll ask them what their goals are and what aspects of day-to-day life that they are struggling with. So the OT will figure out how to maintain, regain or improve their independence and meet their goals. And they do this through a number of ways. So one way may be looking at different techniques. So for example, transferring in and out of bed or their chair differently. Changing the environment, so adapting the home, so for example installing a level access shower or a stair lift if someone's struggling with stair transfers, and then also using new equipment, so that may be a mobility scooter that allows somebody to get out and about in the environment. So an OT will complete a person-centred holistic assessment considering all of the client's needs, so physical, psychological, social and environmental. Now, occupational therapy can make a huge difference to somebody's life. So, for example, enabling them to access the community if they've been housebound for a certain amount of years. We see that quite often. So, just moving on. So, some people may think that occupational therapy is just for adults because they may think that children don't have occupations. But a child's main job or occupation is playing and learning and also developing. So occupational therapy can help children who have various needs improve their cognitive, physical, sensory and motor skills and enhance their self-esteem and sense of accomplishment. So daily life for children involves a lot of activities or occupations. So examples can include self-care, so getting ready to leave the house, eating a meal or using the toilet, being productive, so going to nursery or school, and also leisure, so playing with their friends and hobbies that they enjoy. So when an OT works with a child and their family, it's important that they consider how any recommendations that they come up with after an assessment will impact on the rest of the family and anyone that's living in the house with the child. So, for example, how does installing a through-floor lift impact other residents, or installing a level access shower? How does that affect other people's bathing needs? So my next slide is actually a short video. I think it's quite easy for me to stand up here and try and explain what occupational therapy is, but I think it's far more useful to kind of hear it from somebody that's experienced OT firsthand. So I'm just going to play a short video about a young lady called Grace who we worked with after a road traffic accident.
When I was referred for an OT assessment, it was at a time when I needed help with moving out and what adaptations I would need in the property, because that was total new ball game. I had no idea. So I was referred to the OT practice, and they then progressed and took on my case, and I met a lovely lady called Katrina, and she literally just put my mind at ease. We discussed adaptations on doors, hoists in the kitchen, in the bathroom. It was all about learning all the different pieces of equipment that you can get in a kitchen. So you can get like a hide and slide oven for safety, and having like cupboards up high I thought was just going to be a no, but actually you can get like these adaptations you put in a cupboard, and then you can pull down like the cups or whatever's in there and you can reach it then. We also did hoists. So I've got a hoist in my bedroom, in my wet room, and in like my therapy room. And there's so many different hoists out there which you don't realise. The way that she went through the process with me, it just calmed me. There was nothing that was like, oh, we can't do that. It was all, okay, we haven't thought about it, but this is what we can do. Katrina was really professional and lovely as well. So you always worry when you're going to meet someone new, especially when you don't know a lot about their field. You always just get a bit anxious and a bit like not sure what to expect, but Katrina kind of didn't cause me that kind of anxiety. It was like someone I'd known before, because she just came in and helped and explained everything so clearly and precise. I just knew that she would be someone I could trust to get everything I needed, and she wouldn't let me down. You just get a feel for someone, I suppose. You get a feel for their warmth and their personality, and her knowledge was impeccable. It was outstanding. Occupational therapy pretty much changed my view on disability, I suppose. It kind of presented like this new life to me, which I'd not thought of before. I'm pretty sure probably most people don't think about until it actually happens. And then with like the OT practices input, and obviously Katrina specifically, it guided me towards a new way of independence and a new way of living, and was a seamless and effortless new normal, really. It just, everything slotted into place and fitted and worked.
Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea about occupational therapy and kind of how it can help people. As you heard, kind of Grace's life has hugely changed since we started working with her, and has increased her independence and also her mobility within the home. So the OT practice, have any of you kind of worked with us before or have heard of us? Yeah, a few of you. So we are the largest private occupational therapy practice in the country. So we're founded in 2006 by Nikki Thompson, who is a trained OT by background. So Nikki was in the fortunate position of having too much work as a private OT. So she called upon some of her OT colleagues to help out with workload, and it's kind of grown from there really over the last 12 years. So now we have around 30 in-house office staff and just over 300 private occupational therapists. Now there are two sides to the business. So we've got the key account side that I manage with all the kind of longer term ongoing contracts that generally have a higher number of referrals for assessments. And then we also have the client management side, which some of you may have dealt with already. So we've got Roz, who is our adult client manager, and also Sarah, who's our paediatric client manager. And they take more of the kind of individual referrals from charities who may have less frequent OT assessments. And they also take referrals from like parents, case managers, solicitors, and also other private clients. So we kind of have the flexibility to work with clients on a short-term or long-term basis. It's kind of whatever the client needs, really. So as you can see from this slide, we kind of work in a lot of different areas. So everything from children to functional, neuro and vocational rehab. We've got hand therapy, housing and equipment, seating and postural management, and also moving and handling. So quite a wide variety of areas. So there are kind of lots of different ways that we can help beneficiaries, not just the more common housing and equipment assessments that seem to come to us on a more regular basis. So how can we help your beneficiaries? So whilst our OTs focus on the reason for referral, why an assessment has come to us, so that might be a riser recliner or a scooter more specifically, they'll also consider any other risks. So they'll do a kind of holistic assessment with the client, and anything that they identify as a risk or anything that they feel may be beneficial to the beneficiary, we would highlight that in our report as a recommendation. As the previous slide showed, there's kind of many areas that we work in. In terms of kind of the charity sector in particular, there are kind of many common reasons that we're requested to complete assessments for a beneficiary. So one of the most common is accessing the community. It's one of the main reasons that we go out and ask to see somebody. So we can assess for scooters and wheelchairs to give the person that opportunity to leave their home. We can also make recommendations for adapted vehicles or car hoists if somebody's going to be using a scooter in a kind of different area. So when we're doing these types of assessments, we'll consider lots of things. So for example, the size of the scooter or product that they would need, the speed, is there suitable storage within their home for it? Also, the OT will kind of find out what their goals are for accessing the community and where they're likely to go, how far they're likely to travel. So it's important that we know that they can get somewhere and also back safely. Bathroom adaptations is another common one where people with mobility difficulties may be struggling with their current bathroom layout. So we can recommend and spec level access showers and wet rooms, whilst also considering equipment recommendations for that person. So maybe they need an electric bath board or grab rails within the room to kind of mobilise around, or toilet seats, that kind of thing. And then we've got bed transfers. So we'll consider the type of bed that somebody may need. So is it profiling, adjustable, what sort of mattress type would they need, the size of the bed, whether it's for one or two people. And also where the bed will go. If it's an electronic bed, are there plug sockets? Will they need carer access in the future? Chair transfers is another common one. So anything from kind of simple riser recliner chairs through to kind of complex, more specialist seating. So we'll consider how long the person will spend in the chair, so risk of pressure sores. Do they need chair raisers? Will a hoist be needed? So is there enough room around the chair for that? Home access, so getting in and out of the property. So the OT can consider ramping and also wheelchair access if it's needed now or if it may be needed in the future. Access within the home is another common reason for requesting an OT assessment. So particularly elderly people and those with mobility difficulties who may find it difficult to mobilise around the home. So we can consider stair lifts, wheelchairs, walking frames, through floor lifts, ground floor bathrooms and even extensions as well. And then also general equipment to help people within the home. So that may be something simple like a kettle tipper for the kitchen, or grab rails, or kind of long-handled grabbers to avoid people having to bend down. So these are some of the more kind of common reasons that we receive referrals from charities and benevolent funds, but it can be more complex. So it may be that somebody needs rehousing, so the OT will go in, do a kind of holistic OT assessment to figure out what that person needs from their house. There may be hoisting or complex seating issues as well, so quite a kind of wide variety. So for any equipment recommendations, we'll complete a specification that will come with the assessment report, and that will include any features or characteristics that are required. And also we can do drawings for any bathroom adaptations, so we'll do a drawing for the current layout with where everything is situated, and then also a layout for the proposed layout as well, so measurements and locations of items. So our OTs are kind of extremely good at managing beneficiaries' expectations. So when they start an assessment, they'll ask what the person may like, and they will listen to their goals, but they'll also make sure their recommendations are based on what that person clinically needs. So it can be hard to balance that need versus that want versus need. But we make sure that our OTs make it clear to the beneficiaries that they'll recommend what they need, and then obviously it's down to the charity whether that will be funded for them. So quite often we get people coming to the OT saying, oh, my friend's got a really whizzy scooter with all the bells and whistles and I'd quite like that one. So the OTs will explain that obviously may not meet their needs, and that we will come up with a recommendation specifically for them. And we'll also consider the client's current needs and also their future needs based on their diagnosis or prognosis they have, to really make the best use of the charity funds. So for example, a beneficiary with MS, a degenerative condition, who may want a stair lift as they're struggling getting up and down the stairs. However, a stair lift in a couple of years may not be suitable, so it's likely to only help them in the short term. So the OT will consider any long-term equipment or adaptations to really make the best use of the charity's funds. So as I've mentioned already, we're the largest private OT practice in the country with just over 300 private OTs. So we are nationwide, so we've got OTs all the way from kind of Aberdeen right down to Penzance. We've got a dedicated recruitment and HR team, which means our network is always growing, and we have the ability to source therapists in certain areas. So we have robust eligibility criteria that must be passed before an OT comes on board with us. So these include 5 years post-qualifying experience, and we also ask them to have at least 2 years experience in their chosen specialist field. They need to be registered with the HCPC, so the Health and Care Professions Council, a willingness to join the DBS update service, and also a willingness to take out their private insurance up to the value of £10 million. So once the OT meets these criteria and that they can evidence a strong kind of clinical career, then they're invited in for an interview. So Matthew, who is our clinical operations director, does an interview with all of our OTs that come on board. They will be asked to present a clinical case study and to discuss their clinical analysis and reasoning skills. And then our HR team is responsible for the maintenance and integrity of our network. So all of our OTs are prompted through our onboarding system to send updated certificates and insurance details so that no therapist is offered any work from us in the office if their registration profile isn't fully up to date. And we also offer all of our therapists support from our in-house team, a combination of kind of clinical support from the client managers and also that admin support as well. We have a thorough QA process as well, so after every assessment an OT does, they'll complete an assessment report and specifications that will be kind of quality assured and checked in the office before they're sent to clients. And then we make sure that all of our OTs get feedback on reports as well. So just moving on to the assessment process in a little bit more detail. So our service is holistic, so every client who's referred to us for an OT assessment will experience a holistic, person-centred assessment. The assessment is comprehensive, so the OT will ensure that they cover all areas that a client may interact with, including the home, community, work or place of education. We'll also consider the family, carers and any other household members' needs as well. And we'll address all areas of daily life, including personal care, meal prep, shopping, driving and mobility. The service is bespoke, so we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach. We do have templates for assessment reports and specifications, but they can be tweaked depending on the reason for referral. For example, a paediatric sensory assessment would require different sections in the report to an adult with bathing needs, for example. So timely, once we receive a referral in the office, we would then allocate it to a therapist, and they would be required to contact the beneficiary or client or named contact within 24 hours to book in the assessment. We also ask all of our OTs to call the person 24 hours before the assessment just to remind them of the visit, and we find that this reduces the amount of any missed or cancelled assessments. So we aim to complete all assessments within 10 working days of the referral, and then the report and specifications would come back to you within 5 working days. So reassurance. So we're aware that some of the beneficiaries we see may be vulnerable. So when our OTs go on visits, they have a photographic ID badge like the one I've got here. So they will show the person on arrival. The OT will also give them their contact details if they've got any questions in between booking the assessment and also the assessment itself. And we also invite and also welcome people to have someone with them if it would make them feel more comfortable, so a friend or family member. Transparent. So in order for beneficiaries and all people that we see to get the most positive assessment process and outcome, we've got an open approach to discussing the aims and possible outcomes of our involvement. So we discuss this with the beneficiary both at the time of booking the assessment and then also face to face with them when we arrive. So collaborative, our commitment to any charities and any companies that we work with is that we work collaboratively with any preferred suppliers of mobility equipment so that we can complete client-centred assessments when needed. And lastly, consent. So we prioritise consent. We have consent forms that we use for all assessments. So the OT will gain consent and ask the client to sign the consent form when they arrive, just to confirm that they're happy for them to be in their home and also for the assessment to take place. And that consent form is also signed at the end, just to confirm the person's happy with the assessment and also any recommendations that the OT has come up with. So a copy of the signed consent form is left with the client, and then we also hold one in the office on file. So next, I've just included a couple of really nice quotes from beneficiaries that we've seen recently. We get a huge amount of feedback forms in the office every week, and they're so lovely to read. They kind of come through most days, and the feedback's just really, really nice. So I just thought it'd be nice for you all to see someone else's opinion rather than just mine. And we also make sure that we pass this feedback on to the OT in question that it's come through about. So on to a more kind of practical note, this is just a screenshot of Enterprise, which is our case management system that we use on the key account side. So Enterprise is a great system that allows us to track all referrals from immediately when they come into us all the way through to when that case is closed. It allows us to track the assessment dates and any case notes and the full history of a case. So as you can see from this screenshot, when a client has a new referral to make, you can just upload it really easily to this system. We're then automatically notified in the office of a new referral, and then a beneficiary's case will be created and then allocated to a therapist. And then once the assessment's been completed and the reports and specs have been checked in the office and we're happy with the quality, they'll then be uploaded onto Enterprise and easily and securely downloadable. So then all clients are notified through the system by email that a new document is ready to download, and then just log on, click on the downloaded documents, and then it will be downloaded. So we use this system on the key account side. On the client management side, they use a slightly different system, but based on the same kind of layout. And then finally, I just wanted to kind of introduce to you all our charity team that look after all of our charity referrals. So we've got Matthew on the left, who's our Clinical Operations Director. He does all of our OT interviews. He manages all of our safeguarding concerns and referrals, and has overall responsibility for delivery of all of the contracts on the key account side and also the client management side. And there we've got myself, so I manage all of the charity accounts and am responsible for day-to-day delivery and making sure that contracts run smoothly. We've then got Yasmin and Alison, who run the kind of day-to-day operations of all of our charity contracts. So they will be the ones in the office receiving the referrals, allocating to therapists, kind of monitoring cases as they go through the process, and then also checking reports and submitting at the end. So we work with many ACO members already and have done for many years, since around 2015. Some of those are Royal British Legion, Bank Workers Charity, Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund, Grocery Aid, and many more. So these team already work with those charities. So thank you for your time today. I hope you've learned a little bit more about occupational therapy than when you entered. I'd now welcome any questions anyone has. Yeah, of course.
The ancillary question, how much does it cost?
So it does vary, and this isn't me dodging the question. On the key account side, so on my team, we do have the flexibility to lower the assessment costs based on kind of the volume of referrals or the length of the contract. But they tend to be between kind of £170 and £300 per assessment. And then on the client management side, it does obviously depend on the person that the referrals come in for, the kind of level of complexity, but they vary from anywhere between kind of £350 and £750 for a very complex assessment. So on the key account side, what we do is we have contracts in place with our clients. So based on the level of predicted referrals, we would put together a kind of a one price. And then on the client management side, it's a little bit different in that it would just need a conversation between the referrer and also the client manager, so Ros or Sarah, and then they would figure out, depending on the level of complexity or what's required, what the price would be. And then they can send a quote through the system for approval. So it's just a little bit different on the two sides.
And do you go as far as actually getting the equipment, actually ordering and getting the equipment? And also, are you like tied or connected to any particular suppliers?
So no, we're not tied to any particular suppliers. Obviously all of our OTs are private, so we kind of encourage them to recommend equipment from who they like to use and who they have good experience of with kind of in terms of customer service. But no, we don't tell them who they can use. We have certain clients or contracts that have preferred equipment suppliers, so we're quite happy to work with one company. But we The majority of the time we're not responsible for ordering the equipment. We would make the recommendations in the report, and we can include links to different companies and where to source equipment from, but that would be down to the responsibility of the charity or benevolent fund to purchase the equipment.
But then when we actually got the equipment, would you then work with the clients and show them how to use it?
Yeah, so sometimes we're asked to do follow-up assessments, which is no problem at all. We would just charge an additional fee for that, lower than the assessment rate, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. We can go out and do follow-up assessments and demo any equipment with the person or family and carers.
Do you provide any support in applications to local authorities, say for example, for disability facilities grants?
Yeah. So we get quite a lot of referrals through charities that are looking to maybe get a quicker assessment. We could do an OT assessment report and kind of say what the person needs for that DFG. It does vary between local authorities whether they'll accept private OT assessment reports, so yeah, it just depends on the council.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much. That was very comprehensive.
Thank you all very much.
And that presentation will go up on the website and the video. So if you want to know more, tell other people about it. It'll be on the website quite soon. We're going to do a little bit of a changeover now. Thank you very much, Fiona.
Thank you.